Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting tutorial. In this one, I teach you how to create a meme generator using PHP. So this one shows you live results as you type. So like for example here, I can add some text over here, which you will see here in a moment. And there we go. Now the server is not fast enough. This is why, because I'm recording, I think that's why you can see that in real time. But you can edit these, the text size, the text gap, the stroke on the text, and you can also change the text type, the font type, like that. Let me make this one bigger, like so. And then you can align your text as you wish. Let me make it smaller so that you see the alignment. Right now it's aligned center. You can align to the left or you can align to the right. And not only that, you can change the image that you want to use by just clicking on these images here, like so. And just like that, you have a meme generator. All right. So to begin, we obviously need PHP running on our system. So let's make sure that PHP is running. You can check that by opening your command line and typing the text PHP-v. And if you see something like that, then PHP is already running on your system. All you need is a server. Now, in case you don't have PHP running on your system, what you need to do is go to php.net and hit the download page. Then you can scroll down to see the downloads. My system is Windows, so I'm going to download the Windows version. So I'm going to click here, which would take me to this site here. And I will click on the zip folder. Do not download the source code. Download the zipped version here. All right, so once you're done with that, you can also download Bootstrap from the Bootstrap website. You don't need Bootstrap because it's just for styling. And there we go. So I have these two zipped folders. One is Bootstrap, the other one is PHP. So let me just extract these. Now you can put these in any folder on your computer. My folder is in a drive H, PHP theme generator. It doesn't really matter what folder you put them in. Just extract them to their respective folders. And once you're done with that, rename the PHP folder to just PHP so it's easier to type. And then the Bootstrap, you can just rename that to CSS. Okay, I just need one file in here actually. So that file is in the CSS folder, and that's bootstrap.min.css. So let me paste that, and then I can delete the rest of the folder. All right, so there we go. Now you can keep the Bootstrap files and stuff. Let me just put these in a stuff folder. Actually, for me, I can delete these. I don't need these right now because I made copies, so I don't need those. Right, so far so good. Now what I want is to have first two files. The first file is index. I'm going to make this index.html, remove the .txt extension there. And then the other file is going to be meme.php. So the .php file is going to create the meme, and then the index.html is what we're going to use to view what we've done. Okay, so I'm going to start the PHP server in this particular folder, and I would do that by going into by opening a command window in this particular folder. So I'm going to do cmd like that. Okay, so inside my folder here, I've got another folder called PHP. So I'm going to navigate to that PHP folder. Now in that PHP folder, there is a file named php.exe, and that's what I want to access. So I'm going to type PHP. I don't need to put the .exe. It will assume it's an exe file by default. I'll type -S and say localhost. And then I'm going to put a port number with a full colon there, port number 50. Now this number can be anything, literally any number here you can put, as long as it's not 80, which is the default for XAMPP. All right, so now I want to start. Actually, this is fine. So I can press enter like that, and it tells me that a server has been started on this address. So I can copy that address, minimize this, and I can go to my browser and open a new tab and paste that link like so. And if it's like this, it doesn't show anything, then we are in business. So it's loaded the index.html file, but I want to load the meme.php file. So both those files have nothing in them. So in order to know that something is going on here, I'm going to create a new window in my text editor. So I'm using Sublime Text. Now you can use any text editor of your choice, and that's the one I'm using, Sublime Text. You can use VS Code if you want. Let me grab this folder and drop it inside. There we go. All right, so I've dropped it inside Sublime Text, and we're good to go. So now in the meme.php, I want to make sure that PHP is running. So I'm going to show some PHP tags here. Let me zoom in a bit. And then I'm just going to say echo here, just so we know that PHP is running. So if I see the hey here there, that means things are good. All right, so in order to create images or edit images in PHP, we need the GD library to be on. So let's start by creating an image from nothing. So I'm going to call this image like that. So image is equal to, now there's a function called image create. Now you can create an image from a JPEG or another file, a GIF, JPEG, or PNG. But what I want to do is just create a blank image. So I'm going to use the image create true color function. This one requires a width and height. So I'm just going to do 1000 by 500 pixels, like so. Okay, so now if I try to run this, it's probably going to give me an error. So it says uncaught fatal error, code to undefined function, image create true color. So if this function is unrecognizable on your system, well, what it simply means is that it simply means GD library is not active on your system. So we need to activate that. Now this GD library comes with PHP, but usually it's not activated. So go inside your PHP folder, and what you can do is copy this php.ini development file and then edit it to become php.ini. But instead, let's just create a new one, right? Let's create a new one. So I'm going to right click and create a new text document, but I'll change the file extension. So I'm going to name it php.ini like that, because I don't want to have a whole bunch of settings. I just want one setting I can change. So let me drag and drop that empty file into my project. I could have navigated through here, that's fine. So what I need to do is tell it where the extensions folder is found. Now inside this PHP folder here, there's this folder. This is what contains all the PHP extensions you may want to add. And there is one in particular that I'm looking for, and that's the GD. So here it is, PHP_GD direct link library. It's one of the biggest in here because it deals with images. So let's tell it what folder to look for extensions in. So here in the php.ini file, I'm going to say extension dir is equal to ext, like that. And then on the next line, let's just say extension equals gd. So save that PHP ini file and you can close it. That tells PHP to load that extension automatically. So now we have to restart our server. So press Ctrl+C to cancel the server. You can clear the screen, but then type that command, the PHP localhost 50 again, and press enter. And now the server has started again. Now if I refresh, I shouldn't get this error. And as you can see, that error is gone because now GD library is on. Okay guys, so which means we can now edit images, which is great. So let's display this image in our browser. So I can do that. Now one thing you must keep in mind is you must always destroy the images you create because they take up so much memory. So it's good practice to simply destroy them after you do whatever you're doing. So I'm just going to add this code to be at the end so I don't forget. So now I want to display this image. You can display it by saying image JPEG. I'm going to assume kind of like it's a JPEG. You can use image PNG. Either way, it's the same thing. But then I have to tell the browser to treat this as an image. So I'm going to do that using headers. I'm going to say content type, something like this. Content type ; image/JPEG, like that. Okay, so all I'm doing is creating an image and then displaying it in the browser. So let me refresh that page, and there it is. So I have an image here that I can see, which is black, but let's make it red or something. So we can do that by allocating a color. So I'm going to call this color red and just say image allocate. That's the function, image color allocate. So you tell it what image you're allocating that color to, and then describe the color in detail. 255, that's the RGB, like so. All right, so that's red. I can create a few more colors. Let me do that. Let me start with white, and then I create black. So obviously I just need to change the RGBs. So there we go. This one will be 255 on all fronts, and there it is. Okay, so we have red, black, and white. Now if I want to fill in this image with red, all I have to do is say image fill. There's a function called image fill, and it's like that. I tell it my XY, where I'm starting from, which is 0, 0, and then which color I'm using. And if I use the red, you will notice that if I refresh the page, there we have it. The color is red. Okay, this is great. But what I really want is to create a meme, so maybe I need an image instead. All right, so let's grab an image. I have a list of images here. So I'm gonna copy and paste my images folder in here. So we have images. This is the folder. It's got images in here, a bunch of these that could be backgrounds for a meme, for memes. Yes. So there's in total about 8 images. I've just named them meme.jpg, and then meme1, meme2, and so on and so forth. All right, so I've put the folder in here. Great. Now, so instead of having just an image created like this, I can say image create from JPEG instead. Okay, so what's the file name? I'm going to say, let me call this one just file, I guess is fine. So let me set the file name here. So the file name is inside images / meme.jpg. Now I can remove the image fill because we don't need to do that. All right, so let's try now and refresh. And there you see we have our image. Awesome. Okay. Now what I want to do is add some text. Now adding text is actually quite easy. There's a function here called image ttf text. That's what it is. So it's got some params here. So the first thing is the image, obviously, that you're adding stuff to. And then this one will be the font size. So let's just create a variable called font size, which we're going to allocate here. So I'm just going to say font size is equal to, let's start with maybe font 40, something like that. The angle is 0. We don't want it rotated. Now, if you want to rotate the image, you can do that. Then there's, let's see here, X and Y. So on the X axis, I want 20. And on the Y axis, I still want 20. And then the color here, I can use one of these colors. Let me try the white color. And then here we will need a font file. Okay, so I'm going to create that. And then the actual text. So let's do that as well. Let me put a semicolon here at the end. So what will be the text that we are writing? So I'm going to say text. Let's do the usual hello world with exclamation point. Oops. And then we're going to do the font file, right? I want to make the font file. This one is going to be, now I need this as an actual file. Let me try Arial. It has to be a true type font, so TTF. This is why the function is image TTF text, so it must be a true type font. Now, of course, you can get fonts from your local machine, so let's try and do that. If I go to my File Explorer here, I can go to C, Windows, wherever your fonts are. If you have downloaded fonts, you can use those as long as they are true type fonts. Then I'm going to go to my fonts folder. So that's C, Windows fonts. And then I can copy a few fonts here that I like. So let's say Arial, of course. Any of these will do just fine. I like Impact. Where is Impact? Let's see here. Okay, so just grab whatever you can get here. Whichever fonts, it really doesn't matter. So let me copy that. And let me go to my folder. There we go. And here I'm going to create a folder called fonts. And then inside fonts, I'm going to paste. So as you can see, the Arial, for example, has the bold versions and stuff. So I don't need all that. So anything that is part of the Arial, I'm going to delete. And then the others are different fonts, so which is great. This one is part of Arial as well. So I'm going to rename these for simpler editing. So small letters like that. This one I'm going to say Coupe. And then change the file extension to small letters as well. All right, so I've got 4 fonts here, which is great. Let me start with Arial here. So with this one, I'm going to do fonts / like that. That's the font file. Let me zoom out a little. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. We got font size, blah, blah, blah. Everything is good. Now, if I now refresh, you will see that there's some text here. Hello world. Let me use impact for more impact, right? And let me increase the font size to 50. Okay, so if I refresh, as you can see, the text is hidden above here. Now, that's because the bottom left is the, when you're setting the coordinates, you're setting those coordinates for the bottom left part of the text. So, in order to see it in the Y, we're going to add that 20 to the font size. So I'm going to do font size plus a 20. So because the font size determines the height of the text, so that means the text height plus some leeway, which is 20. Now, if I put font size like that, then you will see that it shows up, but I wanted to leave some space at the top. That's why I add that 20 there. Okay, so there we go. Hello world. Awesomeness. So now the question is, how do we center this text if we want to? How do we put it to the right, etc., etc.? All right, so what I'm going to do is show you how to change these modes. So let's start with mode as the default should be center, like that. And then we're going to say, let's add a switch statement so that we can choose between those. So we will switch between modes like that. If mode is equal to center, we do one thing, and then I'm going to duplicate that. And then if it says it's on the right, we do something else. And then the default will be representing the left. So if it's on the left, the only thing we're adjusting here is the x-axis, because the x is the width, the side to side, sorry, left to right, and then the y is the top to bottom. So determining whether the text is on the center, left or right, only deals with the x-axis. So let me just set the x-axis to be 20 or maybe 40. It's really up to you here. Now, what about the center? How do we determine the center? So with this, we will need to know the width of the actual image, because the width of the image would tell us which part of the image is the center. So there are functions to determine the width. So I'm going to say image width like that, and then there's a function called image sx like that, that tells you the now you may be wondering, where am I getting these functions from? Well, if you Google the GD library, PHP GD library, you can find one of these links that talks about GD and image functions. So here's a list of all those functions, and as you can see, there's image sx, get image width, and image sy, get image height. And all these functions that I've been using here, image create from JPEG, they're all here and described to tell you what they do. Okay, so you can go through these, click on one of these to see a more detailed explanation of that particular function. Okay, so likewise, the one with a Y will tell us the image height. So we have that information now, which is awesome. Now I can use it in my equation here. So what I want in the center is to figure out the image width and also the text width. Those two things must be determined before we do anything. So here it's very possible to determine the text width. There's a function for that which returns the dimensions, the full dimensions of whatever text you want to write. So I'm going to save that information in a variable called box, and then I'm going to do image ttf box, this one right here. Okay, So this one is just like this other function, the ttf text. It takes in pretty much the same params here. The only difference is that this doesn't do anything. It just tells us what will be the width and the height of the image of the text we're trying to write before we write it. So text here is obviously the text we're trying to write, and then font file, we just do that. The angle is 0, and then here we use the font size. All right, so with that, it's going to tell us some information. Now, let's echo this information so that you see what it's going to have. So let me echo some pre-tags here, and then I'm going to die at this point because I don't want it to show the image. I just want to see the result of box. So I'm going to do print readable, and let's do box like that. Okay. So with that, we're just going to get the result of testing that image data. So this information we're getting are the dimensions of the image. So let me just give you a visual of what's going on here, what this information represents. Now imagine this box here in Paint is the dimensions of the text. So there's text in here, and this is the height and width of that text. So these first two coordinates here represent the bottom left. So this is the coordinate around here. This corner down here is represented by those two. The first item is the x-axis, the second one is the y-axis. And so it moves in this direction. From this, the next coordinates are for this one, and the next one are for this one, and the final coordinates are for this corner right here. So that's how it moves. So this one here is the origin, this one bottom left, that's the origin. So what I need to do is subtract, in order to know the width of the text itself, I just need to subtract the coordinates of this one, this corner, from actually this corner here, the first corner, from this one, the bottom two corners. So I can do that with 0 because this one is x-axis, this one is y, and this one is x again. So I just need the x-axis, this one, and this one. So number 2 minus number 0. All right, so with that in mind, let's come here, and I'm just going to echo box number 2 minus box number 0. This will give me the actual width of the text. So if I check that, this is the width of the text, because you see 336 minus 2, we get 334. Now you will notice that that will change if I increase the font size. So you see the font size here is 50, right? If I put it at 100, you will notice that change, because right now it's at 300. It should go to double that, and as you can see, it's double now. It's 600 because the width is now bigger. All right, so that's how you do that. Now that we know the width of the text, let's use that in some calculations. So what I'm going to do is just say text width is equal to, let's say, text width is equal to. Okay. So now I know the image width and the text width, so I can use that in the calculation. So all I need to do is now I know that the image width is always bigger. So I'm going to say x is equal to, let me put that in brackets like that. So I'm going to say image width, since it's always bigger, minus the text width. Okay. So now let's imagine we want to find the center. So let's say my text goes from here to there, right? But I want to center it. Oopsie daisy. So this is, imagine this is my text, but I need to move it to the center here. So how do I know the x coordinate? So if I know the width of this, and then I subtract the width of the actual image, I'm gonna get the length of this space up here, the remaining space here. Okay, but then if this remaining space is divided by 2, and then I move this single part onto the left side, this is going to push this image to somewhere here in the center. So that's what we're doing really. We're just subtracting the image width from the text width, and then the result here we're dividing by 2, and then that's our x-axis. So let me show you that. So all we need to do here is just divide by 2 like that. But then the result sometimes can be a decimal. So what I'm going to do is round it off. I'm going to say round like that so that it's rounded. Okay, good. Now on the right hand side here, we are doing something very similar here. I'm going to paste like so. The only difference is we're going to subtract instead of divide this answer by 40 like that. Now I'm using 40 because this is what I used for the x side. So the for the left side, so even the right side should be minus 40, something like that. You can set a variable here and adjust it accordingly. So what we are really doing here is just subtracting the width and the height, like I said here. On the first one, we divided this space by 2 and pushed 1 to the side. But because we want this to be on the right side, we're just moving this entire space to the beginning here, which will push this text to the end here. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so with that in mind, let's start with center. The mode is center right now. Let's see if the text will move to the center. So if I refresh, it's not moving to the center. And that's because we are not really using this x variable. So I'm going to copy that. And where we're supposed to add the x variable, we're going to put it there. All right, so now if I refresh, you see the text is in the center. Now I can add some much longer text. Let me copy this from lorem ipsum here. Some much longer text. Let me just type something. Hello world. Hello to you all. Okay, something like that. Let me refresh, and as you can see, it's still in the center. Let's try to see if it'll go to the left and the right. So let me try right side. And let's refresh. And as you can see, there it is on the right side. Let's try the left. All right. Let's see that left hand side. Okay. So things are working as intended. Let's keep it on the center for now. Let me add some much longer text. Okay. So let's refresh. Okay. So there it is, but the text is too long. I could reduce the font size, of course. Let me just do 20 like that. Let's see how that works. And as you can see, it still fits now. But what I want is when we exceed the width of the image, the text should wrap around. Okay, it shouldn't go beyond the page as it does now. Okay. So right now it's going beyond the page, but I want it to wrap around. So what I'm going to do is create a function that will do this for me. I want a function that will wrap my text before I print it. So I'm going to create the function just around here. So I could create it at the beginning here before anything else. So maybe let's do that. I'm going to say function wrap text. Now you can call it whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. And then this one will return an array. So I'm going to do return value as array. And of course I need to give it a string that is text. Okay, let's see what else it's going to need. Now what I'm going to do is at this point, where is this point? My mouse is fighting with me here for some reason. Okay, let's do that. Okay, great. So what I want now is this part here to loop. Okay, but not yet. So what I want to do is, whenever the text is too long for the width, I want it to create two sets of the text at the beginning, the text down, and create as many lines as we need. So I want to use an array. So it's going to be an array of text instead. So what I'm going to do is right about here, maybe, yeah, here. I'm going to do wrapped underscore text like that is equal to wrap text, which is that function we're about to create. So the result of that function I'm going to put in here as wrapped text. So it's going to be an array as a result of that. So let me do this. And then at this point, I want to just echo what is inside that array so that you see what I'm talking about. And I will die here, but then I will do print readable the wrapped text. All right, something like that. Okay, great. So at this point, I want to create an array, an empty array, and then return that array in the end. But in the middle here, I'm going to fill it with some stuff. So first of all, I want to create some parts from the text. I'm going to explode the text using the spaces. Wherever there's a space, it's going to create an array. So this is going to create an array of words. So each word is going to be inside the array, one word at a time. So this one is text, like so. So I'm going to loop through each word. So this one is going to be, let me call these words instead of parts. I'm going to say words. So what I'm doing here is I'm testing. So I start with a one word and see if it reaches the width of the image. If it doesn't, I add another word until such a point where the words go beyond the width of the image, and then I will create the next item in the array. So those become lines. So what I'm going to do here is say, let me put two things here. I'm going to say line is equal to emptiness, and then test line is equal to emptiness. Okay, so let's add some code here. So as we're looping through the words, the test line, I'm going to concatenate to it. I'm going to say dot equals to add to it a space and a word. Now, instead of key value here, let's just do word and remove that. So we're adding one word with every iteration here. Okay. Now we're going to test to see what result comes of this. So again, I'm going to do this box thing here that I did. Let me go down over here because I want to test the width, and I'm going to grab this like so. Let me paste it here. Oopsie daisy. Okay, so what we are doing is we are checking each, once we add something here, the text, we are checking to see if it exceeds the width of the image. So I'm going to trim this one just to remove the leading and trailing spaces. So font size and font file are needed for this. So let's do the needful here and add them. So that's a string font file, and then an integer with font size. And what else are we using in here? I think that's it for now, because we have the text, we have the font file, the font size. Those are the things we need here. So great. All right, so at this point we know the text width. So all we have to do is ask the question, is the text width bigger than the image width, so which means we need image width here as well. So I'm going to say int image width. All right, so we're going to need image width as well. So let's put an if statement. I'm going to say if text width is greater than image width. If that happens, then we've reached our breaking point, or else, okay, so if we keep adding and we've added this text and it hasn't reached the end, we're going to say line dot equals, let's add a space to, so we add one word to the line thingy, which means it's safe to add a word. So let's add it. Test line is for testing because this one always goes beyond. We only know after we've added the word that it has exceeded. So we need a clean version. That's what line is for. Which we only add if we haven't reached the limit. Okay. So with that, that happens here. But now when we reach the limit, then we're going to say test line. So we reset test line here. It's going to be equal to an empty string again, so that we start again. And then what about line? Yes, and line as well is going to be equal to an empty string. But before we reset all of these, let's add what we have to the array. So we're going to add line to the array, like so. But then that word will be lost. The current word will be lost. So instead of empty string, let's set this to a word. What am I doing? Word. Yeah. Because we are starting a new line here. So word, and then we start testing again. And then finally here at the end, we add, in case it doesn't, the last line doesn't reach the end, we still have to add it to the array, like so. All right, so hopefully that works. What am I missing? There could be a variable that I'm missing here. Apparently not. Okay, so I need to give it what I sent here exactly when I try to run it here. So first of all, the text. Let me add the text, and then that is followed by the font size. So font file, actually. All right, so the font file and then font size. So let's put those variables there. Font file and then font size, and then image width. Okay, so let's test that to see what result we get. So I'm going to refresh, and this is what I get. So something isn't right because 0 is empty and there's industry there, which means it should have added something. So line, let's see, test dot equal line. Okay, so here I'm supposed to put word and not line. Sorry about that. So let's refresh again, and there we go. So as you can see, it tells me that the page ends there. So if I increase the font size, this should reduce the amount of text on each line. So let's see if that will actually happen. If I change that to 100, let's see that. And as you can see, this is what happens. So I can make it even bigger. Let's try 150. Let's see what happens. Okay, so as you can see, it does what it needs to do. If I reduce the font size to 30, you will see that maybe it will fit on one line. And there we go. All right, so that's what I needed. And now I can use this to the wrapped text is an array, so we can loop through it. So here what I'm going to do is say for each, right, wrapped text, and then as text. Okay, so there we go. Let me move this to the very end. So each line of text is created one after the other. So if I do this now, and we're going to see an image with multiple lines of text. So this is one line, of course, so that works just fine. But let's increase our font size to something like 80, where we know definitely it's going to be multiple lines. And if I refresh, it's actually working. The only problem is we are printing the text right on top of each other. Each line is on top of each other, of the previous one. So we need a way to figure out how to move them to the bottom. So it would be helpful if we can count. So I'm going to put a variable, count is equal to num is equal to 0. And then here I'm going to add to it num plus plus. And so at least we are counting. We know what row we are on. And then we can fix the y. So this is the y-axis, actually. Font size plus 20. Sorry about that. Now, what I want to do is, with every loop, I should multiply the font size. Multiply where we are at by the font size, like so. Because the font size is the height of the text. So if I say font size times 2, that means 2 lines below. So let me just multiply that by num. That should solve the problem. So refresh, and there we go. Look at that. But the gap between these isn't very cool. So what I'm going to do is create a gap variable. So I'm going to call it text gap. Maybe this one can be equal to, I don't know, maybe 30 or something. We're going to test a few of these and see which one works. So the text gap is going to be, what do we do here? So I'm going to put gap around here. Maybe add it to the font size before I multiply it. So I'm going to put brackets around that, and then add it there. Yeah. That way we are adding some meat to the font size. And that actually works, but it actually moves the text from the top there. I want that fixed. So what I could do is subtract by the text gap again from the final result like that. That may seem a little complex, but yeah, there we go. That actually works. So you can see we're doing well. Let's try if we are justifying this to the right. All right, what do we get? There we go. Look at that. Let's justify to the left and see. Let's move to the left, and there we go. So things are working as they should, right? So now we just need to make this official. Let's make it look neat. At least we have this one function here. Things are wrapped in nicely. But I want a function for creating the text as well, so that I can just say create text and not have to worry about all this. So here, what's remaining? Okay, so I need a shadow of some sort, because sometimes I have this white text, but if I have a different image, let me try a different image here. There's image number 2 as well. So I'm going to say 1, meme JPEG 1. Okay, Kabilame, what do you know? Let me put number 2. I think there's I'm looking for some white. Ah, there we go. So as you can see, there's some whiteness here, and it obscures the text a little bit. So we need a bit of a shadow. Now, don't forget, we have a black color here. That's what we have it for. maybe it's too dark, so let me just say 50 on all fronts, like that. Okay, yeah, so let's use that as a shadow. So we can do shadowing by just repeating the text pasting here. First of all, we paste with black, and then we paste with white. So let me put black over here. Same exact thing. There we go. But we don't see any shadow. It's there. It's very subtle. We don't really see it. We need more of it. So what I'm going to do is offset this one. Where there's X here, I can just say -2. And then even on the Y, the entire thing, I can say -2. Something like that, right? So if I do that now, you get to see some kind of a shadow. But I don't really want a shadow. I want like a stroke around the text. Now, unfortunately, there's no stroking mechanism here. So we're going to have to fake it. So the way we'll fake it is we paste like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of these black text before we put the white one. So we go around like to the left, on top, bottom, right, maybe 4 of them, like top, left, right, bottom, something like that, right? We put 4 of them, and then that will create the illusion of a stroke. Now, instead of duplicating this a few times, I'm just going to use the power of computing by using loops. So I'm going to do 4, not 4 each. Let's use a for loop here. Now I'm going to say offset. This is going to be called an offset X. So I'm going to do all X like that. I'm going to start with -2 as the initial value and then end with 2. That gives me like 4 times, right? But then within that loop, I'm going to loop again for the Y axis. So offset Y, same thing, -2. So for every loop on the X axis, I will loop twice or 4 times for the Y axis or something like that. So this is a loop within a loop. And then I will paste here the text with each loop. And then instead of this -2 I was putting here, let me put a plus instead, and then put the offset X. And then at the end here as well, I say plus offset Y. So let's do that, plus offset Y. Okay, there we go. Now if I refresh, as you can see, that looks more like a stroke. If you want more of a stroke or a bigger one, you can increase these numbers. Instead of 2, you can put 3, etc, etc. But I kind of like it subtle like this, so I'm going to leave it at that. So you can experiment, of course. Let me lower the, let me change the font name so that we see it on a different font. And there we go. Something like this. We got, what other fonts do I have here, for example? Cucumber. Let me try that one. Cucumber. Cucumber. Wait a second. Did I save? I didn't save. Oh, so it couldn't open that font because it couldn't find it. So cucumber.ttf. Let's see. Okay, I put an S there, so hence the error. Okay, so there we go. Look at that. That is awesome. Yeah, that is great. So all we need now is an interface, but I also want to create just a function so that I can just call that function and it will put my text where I want. So this whole thing, that's together with the shadow and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it wrapped text, and so this can be outside, and then this is the part. So what I would do is call this a function. up to here. I'm going to cut that and put it right after this other function. I'm going to say function. What do I call this one? Paste text or something. I don't know. Whatever you can call it. Doesn't really matter. And let me move this code like that. So we are inside the function now. So all these values that are from the outside should be given here. So first of all, we will need an array of wrapped text. We're going to need the font size and the font file. And what else? The image width, we are using that. And are we going to need that? Yes, the image width. And then the y axis. Yeah, this is going to get very complex. So what you could do is just have an array with key value pairs so that it's easier to remember what's what, but it's okay. Let's put that y-axis here. And image width, what else do I need here? Actually, looks like that is all, because everything else is generated from within this. Oh, I do need the image itself. So the image resource, like so. All right. Okay, great. Right, that's cool. So now we have those functions. So all I can do is just say, maybe instead of paste text, I'm going to say write text. Okay, so let me copy that. Let me copy this here. Copy. Just to see that we haven't broken anything, I'm going to put it here. Oh, by the way, text gap should be within. Should come from outside. Okay, I'm going to do that. Let me put that gap here. I'm going to say text gap as the final param. Let me go here as well. Text gap. Alrighty, guys. That is cool. So let me see if I haven't broken anything by refreshing the page. Okay, so there we go. So syntax error, unexpected wrapper text on line 81. So usually when it says unexpected, it means the previous line is lacking a semicolon. So 81, it does have a semicolon. So what is the problem? Where is the problem? Okay, let me see that error again. Syntax error, unexpected variable wrapper text, expecting a full colon on line 81. So 81 is this one. Oh, right. I'm not supposed to give the type there, sorry. Okay, so refresh. All right, so undefined variable y on line 81. Okay, great. So we need a y to tell it where the y-axis should be. So what I'm going to do here, instead of the 20, wrapped text and then y. So what I'm going to do is use this y here. So that y is this variable here, right? Okay, so instead of yeah. Okay, what I'm gonna do is with that offset as well, I'm gonna just do plus y, because we can use that y as an offset when we need it. So oy, where is this? Plus oy, text gap. Okay, so I'm gonna do plus y even there. So y is going to be equal to 0 initially for the this axis here. So I'm going to say y is equal to 0. So this is like for the top, and then we're going to do another one for the bottom text. So refresh and define variable black. Okay, so the colors are, oh yeah, we need the colors as well. I forgot about that. So let me put color here, right? That's gonna get complicated very quickly. Okay, so let's just do black and white. Okay, so let me copy that. I don't like it when I have to put so many params in a function, so that's why I'm hesitant a little, but this is not really important, so I'm gonna let it be. Okay, so there we go. Now we haven't broken anything. So now we can write this text twice, which is the beauty of having a function like this. I can simply just duplicate that, and then here I can specify a y-axis. So this time the y-axis can be like the image height of it. Image height. Okay, so this is the top text, the bottom text. So let's see if that happens. Oopsie daisy. Okay, let's do image height divided by 2. All right. So let me bracket. Let me round it off. So it's complaining about the decimal point in pixels. So, okay, so there we go. You see that there? So maybe we had gone a little too far. So image height minus the font size. But then the font size can be many lines long. So we're going to multiply the font size by the count of the wrapped text. How many lines are there? So those lines multiplied by the font size, like that. So let's see if that helps us. And there you can see it. It's pretty close, but not close enough. So what I'm going to do is maybe count wrapped text. How do I do this? Maybe let's just put a subtraction here. Sometimes you just need to subtract. We're going to do minus, let's say 50. Or let's say minus font size. Just one line below. Okay, so maybe that works. That works. So let's try a different image, because different image sizes will give you different results. So I have a third image. I have images up to 7. So let's try number 3. Let's see how that fares. And there we go. It seems to work very well. Yeah, let's increase the font size. So you see, as the size of the images change, even the font size needs to be adjusted. So refresh, and there we go. It's actually pretty consistent, so I love this. Let me change this to 100, and then change this to impact. All right. Let me refresh. Okay, that is awesomeness. Okay, so let's write some text here. So instead of what is this? This is, we need 2 forms of text. This is top text, right? And then bottom text. All right, so top text and bottom text. So the top text, I'm going to write something like, when you realize learning PHP is actually fun. Okay, save. Now we have top text and bottom text. So here what I'm going to do is top text here. That's what I'm going to put here on the first one. Bam. Okay. So I'm going to grab that wrapped text and put it here as well. But this time I'm going to put bottom text here. Alrighty then. So great. Let's try this out. When you realize learning PHP is actually fun. Look at that. We have a meme. But now we don't have the nice controls. So this is the next section of the tutorial. Let's make the controls with JavaScript so that we can control this in real time. All right, so let's create that index page. So I'm going to switch over to the index page by simply removing the meme file there. Okay, so index page is there. Let's create some basic HTML. So we're going to say PHP meme generator. I'm going to copy this title and bring it here into the body. So let me create a div, the main div, and then paste that title, but change that to an h4 tag. Okay, so I'm going to put some classes here. So this one will be column, let's say 10, something like that. So that's Bootstrap for you. We're going to add Bootstrap. So it already contains the classes that I need. This one, I want some padding of 2. I want a BG color of primary, which is blue. And then I want the text to be white. And this, I want everything to be centered. So text center. Now let me include Bootstrap here. So I'm going to do a link. And it's inside the CSS folder. So bootstrap.main.css. Alrighty then. So with that, here we're going to have 2 divs. 3 divs actually. So 1, 2, 3. So the third one will go all the way. So that's going to be column 12. 12 columns is the maximum in Bootstrap. So you can style things that way depending on what you want. So for example, here I want this one to be column. I want this one to change once it gets to the medium size width. So one will be 7, one will be 5, which I think adds to 12. And in this one, I want to add the image. So image. Now, since our meme.php file generates a JPEG, we can use it as a source image. So I'm just going to say meme.php. That's our source for that image. And let me style this image. So the class, I'm going to say width 100%. And then there's this one, which will share. This one is going to contain all the inputs. So input, type text. This one, the name is going to be top text, like that. And the classes for this one are form control. Okay. Let me make this a group. So I'm going to do class input group, like that. That way I can put it in with a label. So all these are Bootstrap classes. Unfortunately, this is not a Bootstrap tutorial, so I'm going to just dash through this. So top text, and then here the class is input group text. All right, so let me see what I'm doing here. I may be doing the wrong thing. And there we go. So this is what we have. I want these guys moving this way. So what I'm going to do is, this is zoomed in. Okay, great. First of all, I want to center this. So I'm going to do MX Auto. That puts margin auto on both sides. Okay. But then, oh, this actually worked. I just want this guy on this other side. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if I put this in one div and then do the class as row to tell it that this is one row. And let me do that. Boom. So let's see if that works. Okay, so that works. So at least I have this side top text. And also I want this whole thing to be BG light, so that it's slightly darker than the page itself. Okay, so I think that actually worked. So with this one, top text, let's put some more stuff here. I'm gonna do bottom text, and then I'm gonna do a selection for the font size, and then gap, and then stroke. So stroke size here, let me do that. Stroke size, the default values here, stroke size should be 2. That's the default value. Stroke size as the name, and then this one will be text gap. Let's go, text gap. The default value will be, what was the text gap anyway? Let me find gap. 30. Okay, so there we go. So default value 30, and then font size. And what is the default value for that? Where is my font size? Oh, my mouse. Where is my mouse when I need it? Okay, so font size is 100 as the default. So let's do that. Value. Let's put it at 80, right? Instead of 100. Actually, maybe 50, right? Let's try 50 or 60. Okay, so there we go. And then this is bottom text. Bottom text. Bottom text, like that. All right, so we're getting there. Let me refresh. And there we go. That's good. I need some gaps here. So input group. Let's do this. Let me select those guys. I need margin bottom of 2, something like that. Let's see that in action. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, we are getting there. Okay, now I need a font selector, and the font selector and the justification, whether it's center, left, right. So let's do a selector and close select. The class for this one will be form select, and let me give it a name. This one will be font size. Okay, font size. And then in the options, wait a sec. Font size doesn't need a drop down menu. What am I doing here? This one is font itself. So font. So here I'm gonna have Arial. The value, on the other hand, will be the actual font.ttf. So let me put a few here. So I have this one, I have impact. Why do I always misspell that? And then I had that one, coupe or something. And I had, what were the fonts, guys? Cucumber. Like that. Cucumber. Okay, so that gives us our fonts and the justification now. Duplicate. We're going to call this one text align. So this one will be text align. And this one will be center as the beginning. And then we're going to have left and right. We don't need this last one. And let's do the same here. Center, left, and right. Okie doke. This is looking great. Anyway, so we have the selector here and a test justification, which is good. And then I just want the images down here as well. So this is where the images will be, so that I can select a different image when I want. So these images will be inside images and then slash, for example, meme.jpg. And then let's do some styling here. The width for this one should be 150 pixels, and then height 100 pixels. Let's do object fit as cover so that the image can, where is this? Oh, there we go. So I want some padding in here, padding 2, something like that. So let me duplicate this, these 1, and so on. So, okay, so there the images go. Oh, they are centered, that's why. Okay, so I can just keep going here. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and finally 7. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, so there goes the images that I can select from. I want them in one line, so maybe I can do some reduction in the width. I think if I just reduce to 140, that should accommodate the remainder. And maybe not. So let's try 120. Let's try this. Okay, 120 seems to be the right spot. Actually, I shouldn't even be struggling with this. I should just put a display of flex here. So I'm just gonna do class D flex, and then justify content, space between. Yep. Something like this. Let's try this out. Okay, there we go. It leaves enough gap for these guys. Maybe let me not give it a definition, a defined width, so that, yeah, something like this. Why is it going overboard here? That's not cool. Okay, so maybe let's do 130. Something like that. 135. I just want that nice and tucked in. what happened to this? You know, Flex could just do stuff. I didn't have to justify. Let me just do this. Maybe I don't need that. Aha, that makes more sense. Oops. Maybe let's do justify content center like that. Okay, I'm spending too much time on the design, which is definitely what I don't want to do. So let's move on. Okay, so now if I click on this, it should change the image over there. And let's try top text here. I'm going to put a placeholder. No, a value, actually. So I'm going to do value. Say when you realize. Let me just copy the text from here. Why am I suffering? That way it matches the default. All right, so there we go. And these guys, I want to copy that. I want to make them clickable. So I'm going to do roll button like that to give it a hand when I wave on these. And then go to the here I want to add an on-click listener. So on-click, I'm going to add a function that will switch the images. Switch image underscore image like that. I'm going to put an event so that I can select which image was doing what. All right, guys, so this is great. So far, so good. All right, pretty cool. Now, what I want is for when I adjust something, it actually adjusts the thing here as well. So all these text ones like this one, let me go type text here. Yeah, let me do this. These ones are numbers. So font size, number. Let's put a minimum at 0. So font size minimum should be maybe 10, and then text gap minimum 0, stroke size minimum 2, maybe 1, or maybe 0. That's fine. All right, so if I refresh, this is what I get. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now, I need an update function here so that it can update everything. So let's go and add some JavaScript. So I'm going to do script over here. Let's go down and let's create a function. Update image, something like this. Now this should be a function, so I forgot to write the word function. So update, great. So all we need to do is grab the image, the main image. So let me put a class on it called main image, like so. Okay, great. So now I can grab that. Then I need to be able to grab these others as well. So name. So instead of name, maybe let me change these to IDs so that I can grab by ID. I'm going to do this. Name. So let me do ID. Okay. So font size, text align, this one is good. Text gap, top text. No, this one should be, what is this? Text gap, font size. Let me remove that. the font itself. Okay, so this one is the font size, bottom text, top text. All right, so we have everything here. So let me grab all these one at a time. So const, let me try top text is equal to document dot query selector. So for the ID, I'm going to do that and say top text. Okay, so I'm just grabbing all of those items there. So this one will go to bottom text, and then this one will go to font size. This one will be, what are the others? Text align, font, what is this one? Font file, this one. Like that. So font size, font file, and so let's grab all of these. Text align. So grabbing all these items and then grabbing their content. So text gap, where is that? Text gap. And then finally, I want one that I can change here. I'm going to say var image file is equal to. So far, we just need the original file, images/meme.jpg. Okay, so all of these items now should be added to the on the update, right? So with all these now, I'm just gonna grab the values. What do I do here? Okay. So all I need to do is go here and say, let me grab the main image. So I'm gonna do document.query selector, and that one is that a class? Yes, it's a class. So dot main dash image. So that's our image. Dot source is going to be equal to. Now, of course, let me put those quotes there. Of course, it's going to be meme.php. However, I want to add a query string so that I can add variables there as well. So for example, the top text, I'm just going to say top text, right, is equal to, and then put a variable there. So make sure you have these tilde, these quotes, the tilde quotes here. So I'm going to grab this one, top text dot value. Okay, dot value, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put an and here. That way we have a second thingy here, which is bottom. So I'm going to do bottom, like that. So let me just try with the top and bottom text. That's all I need to do. Now here I want to add an event listener for each one of these. So let me go down here. Let me do that. So that whenever they are changed, then we can run this update image function. So, oh, this is update image, right? What is this? Switch image. Okay. So I'm going to select all of these, remove that, and say control, move this way, dot add event listener. So I'm going to add an event listener here, open close bracket. Oops, what have I done? Like that. So inside here, I'm going to add a, let's try maybe input, because most of them are going to be on the input. And then let's create a function that will run. Let's do e there, like that. Okay, so there it is. So top text, when I'm inputting the text, it's going to change. Font size, same thing. Font file, though, this one will be on the change. And then this one will be text align, same thing. It will be on the change because these are drop downs. Text gap on input is fine. So all of these should just run update image like so as the function, like that. Whenever any of these happens, we update like that and like that. Alrighty then. So let's see if anything will work here at all. Okay, so if I go 61 like this, what's happening? Did anything work? Maybe not. Let's try changing the text. So none of that is working at all. Okay. Now, the reason none of that is working is because we're not catching these values on the other side. So let me go to the meme thingy here. And I'm going to look for get variables. If they're not there, then I use the defaults. So I'm going to say get, like this, some get variables. And this one is top text. And then if it doesn't exist, then I use the default. So here I'm going to do bottom text like so. All right. So let's try it with those. So refresh. Let's try editing some stuff. All right. So as you can see, it's actually updating, which is great. Look at that. That is awesome. Now we need to change the font sizes and the like. So let's do that. Let's add for the fonts as well. So I'm going to go back to my HTML and let me grab the font size thingy. So over here, I'm just going to duplicate this from there, like so. Ctrl-Shift-D. And then instead of bottom text, I'm going to do font size and then duplicate again. I will just keep duplicating, and then oops, I've put two double quotes here, two quotes. Font file as well. And what else do we get? Font size, font file, text align. Let me grab that as well. Duplicate. Let's do text align. Okay, so let's catch these guys over here in the meme.php. So same thing here, font file, font size. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna do the get again. Okay, so font file. All right, this one is font size. Alrighty then, so we are grabbing all of these guys. The image as well can change. Where is this? Font file. Here, text gap as well. So let me just grab these. It's better to put all of these guys in one place. So let's try get text gap. Okay, and then finally, what's this one? Image file, right? So image file will be here. Oopsie daisy. So let's do an image file is equal to same thing, image file. Okay, so same thing here, image file in the get. Alrighty then. So with all that, we should now be able to do some pretty neat stuff. So I'm gonna do this. Let's try and increase. Oh, there we go. When you realize that something, okay, there we go. So we start with the original image, and let's keep going. How about text gap? Oh, text gap only shows up when there's several lines, right? So let's see at what point does it break into another line. Come on, come on. Oh, okay, so it takes too long to break into another line. So let me go back a little bit up to there. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is on the wrap text image width, I'm going to exaggerate the image width a little bit. So let me find wrap text. Let's go down here. Oopsie. Okay, so the image width, I'm going to minus 40, something like that. That way it becomes more conservative on what to do there. So if I refresh, oops, what am I doing? Okay, so there we go. Still not good enough. Alright, so let's fix these glitches that are happening. When we start, it's a different image, and when we click, it's a different image. So let's fix that. I guess the fix here is that the original image should be number 1. Actually, just meme.php. So let me refresh. And the default should be Arial. No, let's start with impact. Let me go here. Let me do selected on impact here, like that. All right, so let's finish up and make sure everything is working. So first of all, let me resize these images so they fit perfectly around here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to where is this? Where the images are. So the width, I'm gonna change that to fit perfectly. I'm gonna do 12.5%, like that. Okay. And then for the fonts, I think it needs to see a complete path here. So I'm gonna do fonts / like that. And then text align, center, left, and right. Let's make sure those are also getting something from the get variable. So that happens from within here. So here I'm going to say get, and that's text align. If that does not exist, then we default to center. So let me try this. So I'm going to refresh the page, and then I will do, let's say, size 90. Okay, that works. Then let's change to a different font. Let's see. Okay, so that works. Let's try and justify right, justify left. Okay, so that works, and then center. Okay, so those things are working. What about the stroke? The stroke isn't. Let me try the bottom text. Let's see if that works. Okay, that's working. Let's see the top text. That works. Okay, great. So the only thing is the stroke and changing of images. So let me go to the stroke here. Now, the stroke is this number here. So I'm going to change that to say stroke. Okay. So since we have that, I'm going to grab it from the get variable again. So I'm going to do stroke. Now this is within the loop, so it's a good idea to not do something inside a loop that you don't need to do inside a loop. So let's get the struct. What is it code here? Where is struct size? That's what it is. Okay, so struct size, otherwise it defaults to 2, but then we have to cast it as an integer here. So I'm going to put it inside brackets and then do int like that to make sure it's converted to an integer. Okay, something like that. So let's try this struct thingy. I'm going to refresh the page. So we have impact here, but let's put a struct of 10, shall we? Let's see how well that does. If it's gonna increase the struct. Apparently it isn't, so let me increase the font size. What's happening? I want this to be impact still. So the struct 10 isn't working at all. Okay, so the reason may be because we are not supplying it here. So let me go to struct. Yeah, we are not actually supplying it here. So I'm going to duplicate this and do that, struct size. Okay. And let's add an event listener for it as well. So I'm going to duplicate this and change that to struct size. Okay. And I need to add it to the URL as well. So if it's not there, let me go to the end. Let me use text wrap here, view wrap text, so that it wraps around. And then I'm going to do and struct size is equal to struct size dot value. All right, that should do it. So let me refresh the page. Actually didn't need to refresh. Oh, I did need to refresh. So let's move that to 11, 12. Let's see what that does. Any changes? Apparently, oh yeah, it is changing. So 100. The server is just a bit slow, maybe because I'm also recording. So as you can see, the struct size is increasing. As I increase that, let me move it, go crazy with it, like that. Let's see where that goes. It should cover up all these spaces here once it refreshes. Okay, that's taking an awfully long time, but maybe because it's pasting the thing so many times as well. How about if I move to 90? Any changes? Okay. All right, so that's taking quite a bit of time. I'm guessing because of the number of structs. Let me just take it back to maybe a smaller number like 20 and refresh the page. Let's see. Okay, so maybe the server has become too busy because it's heavy stuff. This is why I guess it's better to use Apache. Apache is a better server, but this is for testing purposes, so it's okay. So let me restart that server again and retry. Okay, so let's do 100. Let's see what that does. Oh, maybe change some. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it is working. It's just a bit much. So let me put it at 2 and change my font to Cucumber. All right, let's try 4. Let's see if that changes. Okay. That's still taking long. Oh, it is. It had updated. Okay. All right. So it's just a little bit slow, but it's working. Now, the final thing is switching the image. So when I click on an image, there is a function that should run here, and that function is this one. So what I'm going to do is create this function. I'm going to go down here and say function and get that E for the event. And so what I want to do here is say, I simply want to switch what content is in this image file, text, because we need it here, right? So what I'm going to do is say e.target is the image we actually clicked. The event listener is on the parent, so the target is what you clicked. So e.target.source, whatever the source is, which is this value in here, that should be sent to this value. So I'm going to say this is equal to, like that. And then let's do an update immediately, like so. Okay. Now, these are URL values. They are being sent through the URL. So sometimes it's good to encode them. So I'm going to say encode URI component. So that's the function that encodes that, so that if there are any special characters in there, they can be removed. And also, what is this? Wait a second. Before I do this, I want to alert myself to this value first of all, because I suspect this value will have more than I need. Okay, so let me come back here. So I'm going to refresh and then click on an image, and there it is. So as you can see, it's got HTTP, localhost, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't need all that. So I don't want it to go through the server again. So what I'm going to do is, I just want the last part, right? So before I do the URI encode, what I'm going to do is say let link is equal to the source, like that. Okay. And then what I would do is I want to split this one. I'm going to say dot split. So I'm splitting it on the slash, like that. So a link is going to be an array with all these items. So I just want the last part of the array, and I want, let me do this. So image file is going to be equal. Actually, let me just do that here. It's going to be equal to that link, but the last item. So I'm going to say link, and then open bracket, link dot length -1. That's the last item there. So let me try and alert myself again to that value. So if I click, and there we go. So I just get the very last part of it, which is what I want. Then I'm going to concatenate I'm going to add the images. So the folder, so, and the plus sign to join them. So I'm going to say images slash, like that, and then URI encode. Okay, so let's refresh and see how that fares. Click, and there we go. Okay, so that's much better. And with that, we send it to, we make an update. Okay, so let me go here and refresh. So if I click on an image, it should update, and there we go. Look at that. Now, some of these images are much smaller. This is why you see this jumble up. So all we have to do is reduce the font size, and that should sort the problem. Let me put the stroke at 2, where it should be. Now this is where you can see the gap. Let me add some more text here. All right, so that it's more. And then let me do 80, something like that, or maybe 60. Then you can change the gap here. Let me change it to 20. Let's see if it will adjust that gap. It doesn't seem to be adjusting the gap. Okay, so gap doesn't seem to be working. Let's put a 0 there. Yeah, so that isn't working. So what's going on there? Let's see, text, font size, font value, stroke size. We are not adding it here. So let's add it. So text gap. Let me make sure this side, this is what we are looking for as well. Yes. So text gap should be added. So I'm going to do and text gap is equal to text gap dot value. All right. So let's do a refresh there. Let me go to that image and let's improve the gap. Let's say 10. Let's see if that works. Okay, so it's working now. Let's see, 30 as the gap. And there we go. Okay, so 0. How about if I go to negatives, like -5? Okay, that works as well. Let's go -10 like that. So I can squeeze the text into the other text. -15. Let's see that. Okay, so that pretty much works. Let me put that as a 0. And let's try to change our text font. And there we go. And let me reduce that font. And there we go. All right, so things seem to be working as intended. Let's go to the left. Let's go to the center. And there we go. Let's see. There we go. All right, guys. So hopefully you have learned some valuable stuff in here. I rather like this one at the beginning, so I'm going to keep that. Hopefully you've learned something about PHP in general. And please feel free to go through all these functions for GD library. They are quite a lot of fun because you can do a lot of things with images just by going through these functions and seeing what they can do. One thing I almost forgot is the download button. So you can add a download button here. Let's go to this part here. I'm just going to put a button here and say on click download. So I'm just going to call a function download like that, and then put the download button like that. Let me put some classes here so it looks nice. I'm going to put button and then button primary like so. Okay, then let's create our function called download. So I'm going to say function download. Now the idea here is to create a link that contains that image and then clicking it. So when the user clicks there, we're going to say let link is equal to document dot create element. So we're going to create an A tag. So we're going to say link dot source is going to be whatever the current image is dot source. Where is this? So the image, the main image, where is that? Main image. I am lost, and there it is. So this one here, main image class, that's what we should get. So we're going to do document dot query selector dot main image dot source. So whatever the source is, we put it on the link, and then we're gonna add set attribute. So we're gonna set an attribute inside that link called download. So it's gonna say download, and it's gonna be equal to whatever name we give it. We're gonna say my meme.jpg like that. Okay, and then finally we add this link to the window. So I'm gonna say window, or just say document dot body dot append child, and that child will be the link. And then what do? I click the link dot click, and then finally I remove that link. I'm gonna say document dot remove. Actually, maybe I just say remove. That still works, I think. Link, like that. All right. Maybe that works, maybe not. So let's try it. So if I refresh like that and click on the download button, let's see what errors we get. So if I go to the console, it'll be like remove is not defined. Okay. So element, let's see, maybe, okay, let's not remove it for now, right? Let me just keep it as it is. So because that's the only error we get. Now if I click on the download button, yeah, I'm not getting anything. All right, what could be the issue? Oh, I see. See, an A tag doesn't have a source. It has an href instead. Sorry about that. My bad. Let's go back. Let me refresh. And let's click download. Oh, as you can see, there is the image now. If I click on the image, there it is. Okay, so that's how you make a download button, but we have to remove it from the body. So I think, let me just do this. I think it should be remove child, like that. All right. Okay, so that sorts the problem out. Alrighty then. So back here, let's refresh. Let me design a meme. So there's my meme. Okay, so there we go. Let's give it a notch up, 120 pixels, and you realize the pie is too good. Okay, so that's my meme. I'm gonna click download. Okay, so there we go. If I click, that's my image, and the meme is done. Alright guys, so hopefully you've learned something, and I will see you in the next video.